How is everybody doing tonight? It's October and we are wasting no time celebrating Halloween. And we are going to get started with ranking some of the best and worst horror themed arcade games. And you are invited to join along. So let's stop talking about it and let's just get right into this, shall we? Before we get started, I do want to take a moment to just say hi to everybody in the chat who has stopped by. I sincerely appreciate it. Of course, right up front was the Fourth Horseman. Thanks for dropping by. And we got Gotham City Arcades. Always good to see you. We have Jason, Little Alien, and nice to see you, Papa Brad, Kevin Clausen, Green 50s in the house. Calvin Wong, always good to see you. Appreciate everybody for joining. And if this is your first time joining us for one of these rank alongs, this is your typical tier ranking system. I'll give you a quick uh, glimpse here, shall we? Maybe. So it's going to look like this essentially. It's a tier rank S to F, and the link is pinned at the top of the chat. And just click there. You can vote right along with us once we get started. You see there's a 90-second timer. We'll show each game as we go. Note that there are a ton of ads on this page, but you can go through and close those all out. I recommend you do that so that they don't get in your way. Once you've closed them, they don't typically come back. And Cyan Spirits, nice to see you. And PD7's in the house, reminding everybody to smash that like button. And I want to give everybody a few moments here to log in, get plenty of time for you to get in there. Let me know if you have any problems seeing that. And again, the link is pinned at the top of the chat, and I'll leave the scroller across the bottom. I did want to take a moment. I finally passed 1,000 at the beginning of this week, so right after last week's stream. So I want to thank everybody a ton for supporting the channel, coming and hanging out with us every week, watching the videos. I'm super appreciative of everything you guys do to sit around and hang out with me talking about all things nerdy that I like to talk about. So really appreciate your support. I do plan on doing a celebration stream and giving some stuff away. I'm waiting for some of that stuff to come in. Plus, we have the Pinball Expo here in 2 weeks. So the schedule's pretty compact right now. So I'll probably do that towards the end of the month. But I just wanted to give everybody a heads up. Look for that coming. So I can show my appreciation for all you guys coming along. And it took me just over a year to get there. And um, surprisingly, my goal was to get there by the end of this calendar year, and I had PlayStation 5 video pop off and got me there rather much faster than expected. So I was happy about that. And then I doubled down on that. So appreciate you bearing with me through all the PlayStation 5 rants over the last week. And I appreciate it. Brooklyn, nice to see you dropping by, and appreciate the kind words. Um, yeah, I don't know if any of you are sports fans, but here in Kansas City, our Royals were playing the Yankees in game one of the divisional playoffs. Unfortunately, our bullpen was pretty terrible. And so, um, although we were leading back and forth most of the time, we just couldn't get it done. Walked way too many batters, and it just sunk us at the end. So hopefully we'll get them tomorrow. But I appreciate you sticking around and playing along. Hopefully you'll play along. Um, and the Mets won, nice. So New York is getting double wins tonight. And if everybody's ready, I think we will just get started. So before I kick off the timer to get this going, I just want to describe how this works. So you you have these colored buttons. They correspond to the tiers. S tier, obviously, that's better than the best. That's like the greatest of all time kind of a ranking. Then you have the oranges A, B, C, D, down to F, of course, being the garbage tier type games. All you need to do when the game is up and the timer is rolling, just click the letter you want to vote for. You can view your list, and at any time you can check the total results, but we are going to go over the total results at the end. So we can all see kind of how the community as a whole is ranking these games. And so the first one up is going to be Haunted Castle. Of course, this is the Castlevania arcade game, which just recently came out on the new Castlevania collection for Switch and PS5 and all those fun consoles. Um, so here's the cab and picture of the gameplay. I'm going to try to do that for every one of these games so you can see what they look like. But that is number one. And so I'm going to kick the timer off. And then we're going to vote. And so I'm going to go ahead and vote, obviously, right along with you guys. Nice to see you, Chris. And this, obviously, Castlevania, it's hard for me to not support a Castlevania game. And of course, this being the only real arcade version of Castlevania, for me, I think I'm going to drop this one in as an A. It is a solid title. Love to see it. I don't think I've ever actually played it in an arcade, so maybe I'll get a chance at Galloping Ghosts, but this is a good one in my opinion. And if I can find my mouse, Carlos says, "I hope one of my games of the week Cavs makes it." And then I'll be fine if the Yankees lost. Yeah, here in Kansas City, like if you go back in time when the Royals were kind of dominant in the late 70s when I was a little kid and too young to know, it was always the Yankees that were stopping the Royals from advancing so in the playoffs. So there's no love lost for the Yankees here in Kansas City. Brooklyn says he has this on his iArcade in 1980. All right, we are getting ready to go. Just a few more seconds left. And we'll be heading to the next one, which is Xenophobe. And naturally, it's going to do these random. So, and there is Xenophobe. This one actually used to had this in, what was it? Would have been the late 80s. And used to have one of these, and it is mid at best. So I'm going to give this one a D tier. Not a lot of horror in this one, not a lot of scares. Just is what it is. What do you guys think of? Yeah, Brooklyn says it's a C for him. What do you guys think of Xenophobe? Did you get a chance to play this one? Obviously, it's a 3-player game, which is always interesting, especially in this kind of style. It is one that, let's see. Chris says, I got the Royals mixed with the Brewers. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think the Brewers lost the other day and were eliminated. He's got this one on the iArcade too. Nice. Papa Brad did a great job on this one recently. Very cool. Check out that video. If I never played, I'm judging by the looks of the cab. There you go. So you want to give you another look. Oh, we're on to the next one. My bad. So Walking Dead, of course, this is a newer one. This is a much more recent game, but still several years old at this point. But this one's actually really fun in my opinion. I dig this one quite a bit. It's got all the kind of iconic scenes from the series, at least the first few seasons of the series. Got a variety of fun weapons. This was really, really Awesome. And Brooklyn says he has everything on his iArcade. And Calvin says he's never played it. I'm judging by the looks of the cab. Yeah, I mean, this one is awesome if you haven't played it. It's fantastic. Of course, it's a Raw Thrills game. Um, and it is very, very good. And we are coming up on about 20 seconds left for everybody to get their vote in. Green 50 says it is a great game. And Brooklyn says light guns are automatic S tier. Well, then you're going to be given a lot of S tiers because seems like the vast majority of horror arcade games are all gun games. There are quite a few. Kevin gives Walking Dead an A, and crazy no home arcade company has come out with House of the Dead. And we are on to one of my all-time favorites. I guess this is going in reverse order, so that's nice. For me, this is an S. I just absolutely love Splatterhouse. Of course, the first time I played it wasn't actually in the arcade. It was on the TurboGrafx 16. Obviously, the main character that looks pretty much identical to Jason, but is the hero trying to save the girl is so iconic. And it's not an easy game, but it is a ton of fun. And of course, later in life, I actually came across some of the actual arcade cabinets, and it plays so good. This is a fantastic game, in my opinion. And Fourth Horseman says, "Ooh, I've played this one." Yeah, it is a ton of fun. There's a lot of variety in it as you go through, and it is challenging. It is by no means an easy game. I enjoy this one a ton, and it was all the more harder when I was a kid. Got about 10 seconds left on Splatterhouse. So many Friday the 13th vibes with that game. Oh, next up, this is a fun one. Shark Jaws. Now, I've never even seen this one in person. Obviously, it's a very, very early game. A ripoff of Jaws, obviously. I assume Brooklyn, I assume you're talking about Splatterhouse, not Shark Jaws. Because I don't think I saw Shark Jaws on the Turbo Express. But nice to see you, Sergeant. And Shark Jaws. Marine says, never seen this cab. So, well, if you're going to Galloping Ghost coming up at Pinball Expo, I'm guessing you're going to have an opportunity to see this one. Of course, it is a, one of the originals, and I'm going to give it like a C. It's a very early game to latch on to that Jaws mayhem of the late 70s. Got about 15 seconds left. Brooklyn has Shark Jaws on his iArcade. Indeed, he does. I also saved a kid at age 4 or 5 from riding in the streets on his soccer scooter. To my wow. Well, glad you were there. Like kids can do stupid things. Brett says that has to be super rare machine in this day. All right, next up, another really great IP and a not so great game. Of course, we are talking about the real Ghostbusters. Of course, you can get this in your own home arcade from Numbskull or Quarter Arcades. This is a classic with the real Ghostbusters characters from the cartoon. Very, very cool looking cab. Cool IP. Not such a great game. It's going to be an hour to scroll through the S tiers, indeed. The game is a D. I agree with Marine 50 there. There's my ranking so far. It is a D for gameplay, but man, it is an A for IP. Uh, Great IP. Just really wish they'd have done a better job on this game. Uh, you know, so many possibilities, and we got about 10 seconds left for everybody to get their votes in on this one. And it looks like about half of you are participating. If you've come late, feel free to jump in. The link is at the top of the chat, and it looks like we have a $2 super chat from Kevin Clausen. Says those PlayStation videos put you over 1,000 fast. Indeed, they did, Kevin, and I really appreciate the super chat. And next up, don't mean to fly by that, but next up we have Night Stalkers. Of course, P-Dubs has been talking about this like crazy with the release of a modern sequel or additional version of this game. Of course, they lost that great, iconic art, but man, what a classic horror beat 'em up. Lots of S tiers here. Not which did you refuse to review, Papa Brad? I guess Carlo talked about it up there. Steve McCloskey took one for the team. D was on PlayStation. Crazy Scary. Never heard of it. You're missing out, Fourth Horseman. This is a good one. Definitely recommend trying to check that one out. And Marine has A, not S. And we are jumping over to the next one, which is going to be Vampire Knight. This is another shooter, and it is meant to be a spin-off from House of the Dead. And who doesn't like House of the Dead? Of course, this cab design is insane. You've got that cool molding into the where the gun deck is, into the control panel. Very, very cool. You've got the kind of iconic little gothic or bone and blood look above the screen. Some very cool molding around this cabinet. Sergeant says, we never even got more redesigns of the ATTE from Star Wars, which fits 3. Oh, yeah. Israel Gaming, thanks for dropping by. Says, what's up? James likes a few things, and everyone, LOL. Hope everybody's evening is grand. Thanks for coming by. And Mr. JASH says, Trap Adventure. Have not played this one, Papa Brad says. Looks cool. Try Trap Adventure. Definitely will have to try that one out. I'm not familiar with that one. So I will definitely check that one out. And we are on to the next one. And this one isn't really a video game, of course. We are ranking Monster Bash. And of course, this is in honor of course, Halloween, and At Games recently releasing the Zen version of this table. It is a fantastic pinball table. It is a ton of fun, very interactive. All your favorite Universal monsters make an appearance. They jam out to great music, and it is just a blast to play this one. Especially on your At Games Legends 4K. If you are lucky enough to have one of those, it plays really well and it's a ton of fun. I've really been enjoying this one over the last week, or not even really a week, right? It's been maybe like 4 days since this one released, but it's a ton of fun. And of course, the original is obviously a ton of fun and highly popular game. And so if you haven't had an opportunity to check this one out, I highly recommend it. Here's I ranked that an A. If it was the real pinball, I mean, obviously the real pin probably is an A or an S. There's just so many good pins out there. Appreciate the subscription, Mr. JSH. Uh, really do appreciate it. Uh, Papa Brad says in the best pack on 4KP. Yeah, it's the pack this week had two great tables, of course, Monster Bash and Creature from the Back Black Lagoon, and both are very good and both play very well. I played the real one a few weeks back at one of my customers' houses. It's badass. Indeed, it is. All right, we just flipped over to another fun one. House of the Dead 2. And this is another great one. I don't know how um, this one doesn't get an A or an S for people. This is, of course, one of the classics in the horror shooter franchise. One of my favorites, of course. It's excellent on Dreamcast as well as in the arcade. Just a really, really fun one. One you can actually still readily play, unlike the first one, which has a really crappy remake. This one still holds up. It's still a ton of fun. And I wish we could get this and the original in a home arcade version. Yep. Yeah. I mean, one thing that's one thing that's great about these horror games is they're almost all fantastic. It's amazing. I don't know how many bad ones there are. Obviously, there are some suspect ones, but some of these are there's just a ton of really good ones. Scary game, but I never played the game. Well, I definitely recommend playing it. It is a blast. Pub Red says it's a great game, and playing this a lot recently on the Wii with my gun control, it is awesome. Indeed, it is. Next up is one of the greats. Of course, this is the sequel to Ghost and Goblins. We're talking Ghouls and Ghosts, available on the arcade, the Super NES, the New Wave Toys, Replicade version of this. It's on Sega Genesis. I'm sure it's on a ton of other systems that I'm not thinking of, but there is a variety of ways to play this game. And of course, it is a classic Capcom game. Get knocked out of your suit into your underwear. And it is a very tough game to play, but it is a very fun one to play. And great to actually play in the arcade. The arcade version is awesome. And yes, it is very difficult. And Rage Quit is the name of this game. And love the game, but the punishing gameplay, I'd have to bump it down to an A. Yeah, I agree with all of those comments. It is a tough one for sure, but it is such a classic. We got about 3 seconds here, and then we're going to jump over to the original. You can't talk about ghouls and ghosts unless you talk about ghosts and goblins. This is another fantastic, of course. I actually like this one a little better. The original, the OG, again, super hard. Those red devils are a pain in the ass, and they just throw more and more at them as you go, more and more of them at you as you go. And if you don't know what you're doing when you get to the end, you can find you've screwed the whole thing up. You have to do it twice anyway, but if you bypass that shield, you're going to be hating life. And so this is such a great, great fun game. Another available New Wave Toys, NES, just all over the place. You can play this one. There's also, for those that are fans of this series, they have the Gargoyle, the Red Devil, whatever. It's actually a, I guess, called a gargoyle, and you can play that on the Famicom, and I believe it's also available on the NES as its own standalone game, which plays completely different. Green 50 says this is an A and a classic. We got about 15 seconds left on this one. And I'll let you guys see my rankings while we're waiting for the next fun one to pop up. And Kevin Clausen dropped another $2 super chat. Oh, nope, it's the same one. I just can't read it again. That's I apologize for that. It's the StreamYard is tricking me there. All right, next one up, of course, is the OG House of the Dead. This is God tier. Unfortunately, the code for this one is lost to time, the source code. And so your only hope is to play it off of someone dumped ROM or play it off the original because you're not likely to see this ported to much of anything at this stage. Of course, they've tried to do the remakes to get it back out there for people to recreate the game, which isn't quite the same. But this one is fantastic, and it's unfortunate that the source code for this one was lost because this would make such a great addition to home arcades. Of course, Jason says Demon's Crest was part of that series too. Yes. Mr. JSH. Should I say JSH or Josh or Jash? Says it's an A. We've got about 5 seconds left, and then we'll be flipping over to Darkstalkers. And in this one, rather than listing all 3 Darkstalkers, we're just going to kind of show Darkstalkers, Night Warriors, Darkstalkers. It's all 3 combined because they're all fun fighters that feature some of those classic monsters and other monsters. Great series, in my opinion. I'm giving an A on this one. Berglund says the remake is so good, but so bad at the same time because it isn't a light gun game. Vampire Savior. This is an A, Kevin says. Yeah, this is a great one, of course, for the home arcade fans or A1UP fans. This is available on the Big Blue and the Street Fighter Hyper Fighting Legacy Edition, whatnot, the 90s looking one. You can play these on there. But the online play is reserved for the Big Blue until maybe somebody releases a new one with these on it. Great game, and I think these are all going to be on the new Capcom Fighting Collection coming out. Is it in November or is it next year? I can't remember. But when that one releases, you'll have access to these again in online play through PlayStation and Xbox and PC. Kevin says Big Blue at Best Buy dropped to 119 this morning. Of course, it's sold out. Wow, it dropped that low. Wish somebody that worked at Best Buy had pinged me and let me know. I'd have bought that. I don't own one. Don't really like the design of the arcade one-up one. The deck's at a weird height, but for $119, it's hard to pass that one up. All right, next up is Crypt Killer. This is another shooter, obviously. I personally have never played this one, so I don't know what to rank it. I know it is available on, I believe it's Saturn. You can play this on Sega Saturn as well as PC. I'm not sure what else it was released on, but it is a gun game, obviously. And it's one of those early 3D ones. So it's a mixture of those 2D, really use 2D scaling, not really true 3D graphics at that stage. Uh, Trying to get rid of inventory if you can find one in store. Got about 15 seconds left on this one. And says Mr. JSH says this is a classic. And Cornercade is here. Cornercade did not do his job by pushing out a video to tell everybody about the $119 Big Blue at Best Buy. Where were you, Danny? Were you sleeping? We needed a video. You needed to tell the world. All right. Next, we have Chiller. How many have played this one? This one is, for me, not a good one. This is actually available available to play on the mystery encoder hack of the T2 arcade one up cabinet. This is kind of a odd one. Jason says chiller is all sorts of effed up. Indeed, it is. Sergeant says I heard one of the Pokemon games has lost one of their server codes or have lost the components needed to remake the game. Well, that's interesting. Arcade says there was probably one left, and once it was gone, it was gone. Let's see. Brooklyn says the scariest horror game of all time, Madison VR, took me 12 hours to beat, and it was effing nightmare at the time. I'll definitely have to try that one out. The Resident Evil, like what was it? The Village and what was the one before Village? That in VR was insane with the dude chasing you around the house and you're creeping around trying to hide. In VR, that is so intense. Paul Brett says, I played this with Brooklyn on Friday Night Arcade Show. There you go. Chiller is awesome. We played it on my show. Yeah, there you go. Scary background. And we are actually kicked off to the next one. Too busy jawboning. Of course, another S tier. Carnival. Doesn't like this one. Clowns, carnivals, horror, guns. So good. Chiller is effed up. That seems to be the reigning opinion. Uh, S tier for sure. This is a great one. I really wish I had one of these, or somebody would come up with one that you know looked like this, or was a legitimate home version. Obviously, you can get these in several different cabs. It's such a great game, such a good one. Carnival, have a shooter cab coming in a few weeks with this theme. That is excellent. Yeah, if I was going to make a shooter multicade or purchase one, it would be with this theme or with probably the Walking Dead theme. This is so good. Such a good game. Schiller is great. Like the pun there. Not good emulated. Yeah, you probably need a really beast to play it well enough. Can't wait to get Glenn's full side cab and play some gun games for sure. Got to play this one in the arcade for absolutely. Next up, switched on us, we have Zombie Revenge. This is one I have personally not played myself, but there it is. It's a Sega game. Killer Arcades has a nice modded one-up Carnival. Appreciate that, Dragot. Dreamcast. Yep, this was on Dreamcast, and Brooklyn says it's an awesome game. So I personally have not played this one, so unfortunately, I'm gonna take it down to like a C, just because Actually, I clicked B, so too late now. I haven't played it. I probably shouldn't have voted at all on this one, but it looks cool. Looks kind of Resident Evil esque. Obviously, it's not, but it's from Sega. Sega games pretty much tend to rock. Um, Bullets. The cab has no art on it. Yeah, it's an interesting design besides the marquee. Yeah, it was tough finding any pictures of this cab. Um, so this is clearly somebody's like homebrew or multicade or something that they've put the actual marquee on. Papa Brad says it's a lit game. Brooklyn says it has bad House of the Dead acting with fantastic fast-paced gameplay. There you go. Well, who doesn't love the bad acting? So, and we are, 20 seconds into the next one, which is Beast Busters. More guns, of course. This is 3 player simultaneous. This is an SNK game. There is a sequel to this one, I believe, on the Neo Geo. Obviously, it's an SNK game. Three simultaneous with Uzis. Can't beat that. Really looks a lot like the mech from Operation Wolf on there. Kevin says this one looks cool. Yep, lots of zombies and blood. I got pretty far in this one, but haven't beat it yet. And we got about 10 seconds left on this one, and I think there might be just one left, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, there are lots of other horror games, sci-fi games that all could fit this genre, but I didn't want to go too crazy. And this one again is going to have to represent kind of the series. And so we have Aliens, and of course, this one is this one a Konami one, the regular Aliens, and of course then you had Aliens versus Predator from Capcom. I can't remember if this one was Konami or not off the top of my head. So don't uh don't blame me for being brain dead at the moment. Of course, can't beat killing xenomorphs. And Aliens, of course, is the best movie of that franchise, though Aliens versus Predator, the game is far superior than this one, but they are both good. I got pretty far in this one, but haven't beat it yet. Kevin says he gives this one a B. That's probably where I am on this one as well. It's a fun one. Yeah, I thought Konami was right. It is a fun one. It's your typical kind of Konami beat 'em up with lots of different weapons, lots of different xenomorphs. So pretty fun. Good list of characters you can select from. I think like two or three, but they're at least feel different. Um, so I really like this one. Of course, you get that whole ending, which you can anticipate having seen the movie. So we got about two couple seconds left on this one, and I'll bring this one back up. And we've made it through the list. I just picked 20. There are a ton of other ones. There's what, four House of the Deads. We didn't do any of the Jurassic Parks. Those are really, in my opinion, more sci-fi. There's just several of these have sequels. There's tons more horror themed pins where you think of Elvira, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Adam's Family. There's just a variety of horror themed arcades and tables. Of course, everybody loves horror. Well, not everybody, but most of us. If you liked getting scared, you like the blood and the guts, who doesn't love horror games? So let's take a minute to just go through and review where everybody came in. Of course, we had a total of 19 participants and 134 votes. So at the top, we have our S tiers as voted by you, the audience. Of course, we have House of the Dead, House of the Dead 2, no surprise there. We have Splatterhouse, oh, so good. We have Carnival, another great one. Night Stalkers in the beat 'em up area. Of course, Splatterhouse, I guess you could kind of say is a beat 'em up. To me, it's not so much a platformer, I guess, but it's probably considered a beat 'em up, but it's not as intense as your typical beat 'em up. Um, so I think it's probably more like an action platformer, in my opinion. Um, you got the Night Slashers, again, classic beat 'em up, and Walking Dead, another great but modern horror game. In the A tier, we have the Darkstalkers series, of course, classic Capcom fighting, Ghosts and Goblins, Ghouls and Ghosts, more Capcom horror themed platformers, action platformers. Haunted Castle, of course, Castlevania. Who doesn't love that? Beastbusters, Chiller, Monster Bash, Aliens, and Zombie Revenge wrap up the A's. Now we're getting down the tier. B. Wow, Real Ghostbusters scores a B. Just shows you the power of the Ghostbusters branding and logo. Because the gameplay probably isn't anywhere near a B. But there you are, and uh Forget what this one is called off the top of my head. Oh, Vampire Knight. Yeah, also gets a B. In the C category, you have Xenophobe and Crypt Killer again. Crypt Killer's classic, Sega CD type game, really kind of cheesy shooter. And then in the F tier, we have Shark Jaws, which which deserves that place in history, in my opinion. So hope you guys enjoy doing that. I always love doing these rankings, especially with you all, so we can get a pulse of what games the community likes, what each of us likes, and talk through it. I'd love to know what games didn't I cover that you wish were in this list. Of course, there is a ton. We talked about uh, some of the like Alien versus Predator. Jason says Candygram. I am not. Are you yelling that, or is that actually a game? Um, I assume it's a line from a game, or it's a game itself, and I'm just not familiar with it. Uh, yeah, I think the IP is so popular, the Ghostbusters game isn't all that. Yeah, I mean, it was as a kid, it was kind of okay. Obviously, it's not so great these days. Oh yeah, SNL hit making fun of Shark Jaws. There you go. Yeah, Shark Jaws is that's a special one, but that's in the early days, right, when they looked really bad to begin with. Um, but that one is special. So how many I know, a few of you are in here. How many of you are actually going to Chicago, the Pinball Fest here in a couple weeks? Believe that is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, this October 17th through the 19th. There is quite a ton of people going to this one this year, much like they did in Cleveland last year. But there is just a giant amount of people that I've seen going. And Kevin is going to travel long distances across town to go to medieval times and galloping ghosts. And he's just been there waiting. He got there so early. He's been there for decades waiting for all these home arcade YouTubers to show up. I'm kind of excited. Not just the Pinball Expo will be fun, but it's going to be cool hanging out with everybody. And of course, there's also a retro game convention going on at the Pinball Expo itself. That's probably going to be a little more interesting to me. But we have rumors of a new company, right? Both Fox and the Super Game Room dudes have talked about a whole new company that has yet to go public, will make their first public appearance, announce their company, and announce their new product at this show. And rumors are it is not it's a three-quarter scale, but it's not a video game. And being that it's a pinball expo, you might be able to guess what it might be. I do not know for sure, but I heard it is not digital and it's not yeah, so it's not digital, which probably means it's a physical, mechanical pinball table or something of the sorts. Should be interesting to find out who it is, what they're bringing. Should be fun. Um, Jim the Pacer Sand says he is on the fence. You should just. I saw you said you're 3 hours away. You should just come by for one of the days, hang out, and then bounce. 3 hours I know is a bit of a drive, but at least that's close enough. You don't have to like get a hotel room or something if you don't really want to. Should be fun to. I'm looking forward to meet a lot of you guys, a lot of the other YouTubers in person. Should be a lot of fun. Yeah, wow, three-quarter real pinball, possibly. I don't truly don't have any information. All I've heard is what those other guys have talked about, but through some of their little drops, that's what I understand is that it's not a digital pinball. It's not an arcade game, and so something possibly like a real pinball or uh, ice cold beer or something like that. Something that maybe maybe it's a whack-a-mole. I don't know. Um, something that they don't have to spend a ton of money on, intellectual property that they can do themselves, and come in at a lower cost and get things started. Appreciate you guys participating. Appreciate you joining, Sergeant. By the way, I did get a chance to watch your show all about the GI Joe toy line a few weeks back. So if you guys are interested in that, definitely go check that out. Got a few guys in there talking about the vintage figures and the characters and what it all means. It was very interesting live stream that they did. It says, I bet it will cost less than at games. Who knows? Yeah, that's the other one that'll be there. Obviously, at games is going to be there theoretically with all their pins, showing those off. The corner cade says it's a coin pusher. I don't think it's a coin pusher, but you never know. I drove past Galloping Ghost twice today running errands. Yeah, man. Uh, I've never actually been there, only, lived vicariously through various YouTube videos. So really interested, in going. I know, Pac-Man QC, if you guys know him, he's, somewhat in the area around there. Was really hoping to see him again, got to see him and talk to him at Midwest Gaming, Classic. But as you guys know, he has not been doing well and has been in the hospital for a while. He's doing better than he was, and did a short video earlier this week just to touch base for everybody. So, fortunately, won't get to see him again, but wishing him all the best. He is a great arcade historian. He's got a myriad of videos. If you guys aren't familiar with him, I definitely recommend you go search him out. He has does all these kind of like hour-long documentaries about specific games, shows you them through their arcade, through their various ports to other systems, and kind of goes really deep dives into all of them. It's great stuff, and he's a great guy, and um, really enjoy watching his content. And he's, like I said, he's a super nice guy. Uh, I think Cornercade wants to get hype and wants Kevin to get excited, but I am not sure. I'm gonna go to my NPR voice because Danny likes people to be calm and not hype. Eddie says, "Man, where can I get a 30 pound?" Not sure what what you mean there. 30-pound pro. Uh, eBay is the wrong answer. Oh, I think you're 30th anniversary pro. Yeah, there you go. And definitely eBay is the wrong answer, unless you want to spend $5,000. It's that thing is insane how that thing popped off. Even the controllers are all double, triple the cost. The Slim. It'll be interesting to see what happens October 10th when the next round of those releases come out at Target, Best Buy, and others. How that affects the price. Um, you know, eh, you know, the 30th console, obviously, those 30th anniversaries pull on our nostalgia, pull on our memories of the PlayStation 1. But man, the Pro itself is so marginally better. It's I challenge people. If you did the Pepsi challenge, right? Maybe I'll do that on the channel. Maybe we'll do um a pro challenge, and I'll record some of this footage all in you know capture some of the PlayStation 5 Pro and PlayStation 5 regular content in 4K 60 frames per second, and we'll put them side by side randomly and see if you can pick out which one is the pro and which one isn't, because I'm betting you can't. It'll be interesting to see if people truly can tell the difference, because I would be shocked. um Kevin says, James, don't forget you got PlayStation fans now watching your streams. We're all PlayStation fans. Kevin, the cornercade, let's go of everything, and James hates it. Yeah. There you go. Let's go of everything, and James hates it. I worded that wrong. Um, not fair for the fans. That's absolutely right, Eddie. Especially, I don't know if you guys caught the video, but it came out that PlayStation or Sony in Japan actually did the right thing for Japanese consumers. They required you to be a PlayStation network subscriber between like 1994 and a couple weeks, but or sorry, between 2014, 1994 would have been nice, right? But 2014 and September 19th, 2024. And then you had to have 30 hours of logged gameplay on the PS4 or PS5 or a combination of the both. And of course, that date was set before they even made the announcement about the pre-sale, so you couldn't really game the system. Now, why they didn't do that for everybody else is interesting, especially given the light that that's exactly what they did when they launched the PSVR 2. So, why didn't they do that with the 30th anniversary? But what you would do in Japan is you register, and there's no waiting in line. You just meet that criteria, you register, and then they randomly would draw winners of an opportunity to then go purchase that system. So much more uh, distributed than, say, forcing everybody to jump into giant queues, wait around for hours on the hopes that they might get a chance to buy something. Really frustrating the way they handled it. Of course, they clearly, in my opinion, did that on purpose in order to get news stories hype, get the frustration, get as many articles and people making videos and blogs and everything else complaining about the availability, to get all the stories talking about how this thing is going for 5, 10, 50,000. Like somebody's asking $50,000 for one of those. I have heard subsequently that eBay is canceling most of those pro orders. So even if the people did buy one, they're never actually going to get it because it was all been canceled after the fact. uh, Not to mention, man, I hope you can really trust your buyer because you are sending them massive amounts of money and the thing doesn't ship until late November. So you're probably going to be outside the window for any kind of return or fraud claims. So buyer beware. Indeed, I want one pretty bad, but the price is insane. That is true. If they did that here, I would have had a shot. That's exactly right. We all would have. There were a lot of people that stayed up all night. I actually didn't stay up all night, but I stayed up late, made sure I logged in at different time zones after it crossed over just to see if the queue would have started. At midnight my time, there was a queue, but it immediately kicked me into the store where there was nothing to buy. So it was pretty clear based on what it said that it wasn't going to matter. So then I just logged in about an hour beforehand when they launched. And of course, my random place in line was more than an hour after it started, but I was lucky enough to get what I got, talked about before. So I was happy, though I would have been happier if I got the Pro. Um, yeah, if they did that in America, of course, there'd still be people complaining, but at least I think the number of scalpers would have probably been limited and reduced. But it's what it is. Tried to figure out what they had for my start date, but I didn't find it. I have had a PSN account since 2008, and I think it's always been the same, but Sony has had a few system resets since then. Yeah, I've had my same PSN account since the day they launched PSN. Of course, I've been a long time Sony fanboy. Love the system. Love, of course, to me, although Resident Evil has many games that launched on other systems, to me, Sony will always be the platform that Resident Evil is meant to play on. That was the where they launched it. Um, and that's one of my all-time favorite game series. Really love it, and so always been a PlayStation fan. Love hearing that Twisted Metal is coming back. That's another IP they've basically forgotten about. Um, so really, really excited. I was up the night before already on site just to prepare. Yep. Yeah, and so when they on this point, when on October 10th, I'm probably going to do a live stream. Not going to buy anything, but I'm going to see if I can get in at some of these stores and see just how crazy fast things sell out. It should be a fun watch. Sony is probably out bidding on the resells, so they only think they're getting 50K. In reality, they're getting caught. 1 hour queue for me. James, did you get in quick? No, I had over an hour wait. Of course, I opened on multiple browsers, multiple devices, including my phone, extra computers, things like that. One of them got in at about an hour 15, hour 25 minutes, somewhere in there. People were reporting at the time when I got in that the Slim 30th was also sold out, but I found if you did a search for it, you could still get it. So the main link said currently unavailable, but when you did a search, it took you to the actual product page and you could still order it there. So I did, and the order got confirmed. I also picked up a DualSense controller, the Portal, and the Edge controller in the 30th. And then I wasted $700 on a regular PS5 Pro, which I continue to go back and forth on whether I actually want to keep it or not. But I'll probably just keep it for content purposes and review purposes so people can see what not to spend their money on because it is nowhere near worth $700 in my opinion. Uh, Jay's 2 cents, if you guys are into PC master race kind of stuff, Jay's 2 cents did a really good video where he took $700 and purchased PC components from Micro Center and was able to do much higher specs than what the PS5 Pro can. So definitely recommend checking out that video if you're serious about getting that performance. And you aren't a PC gamer, well, that's a good time to jump in. Um, but obviously they don't have all the games the PlayStation has, but with PlayStation committing to bringing all their exclusives to PC, uh, you will get them eventually. Um, Damn, even after 30 minutes, wow. Friggin says I got in 30 minutes and it was gone. I had access to everything. Yeah. So, the only person I know, Eddie, that's in our kind of sphere, our this home arcade and community that we've got growing here is Ezekiel, the Chicago Retro Ranger. He got in almost right away and was able to get a pro, and he's a great guy and well deserving. So, if anybody should have been lucky enough to get one, he is. Not to say other people shouldn't have been too, but he's a really nice dude. Glad somebody like him was able to get one. Starfield has to play better on Pro than Xbox Series X. So I like Starfield myself on PC better than Xbox Series X. I tried to play it on the Series X and gave up because it is too much text to read on a Series X, in my opinion. When you're sitting that far back from a TV like you typically do, and it plays so much better. That game was meant to be played on a PC with a mouse and a keyboard, and it plays great on there. Fortunately, you can't save the gameplay. It is not one of Bethesda's best. It's not horrible. It's just not great. Will the Pro come back in 10th to 30th? It will not. Only the Slim and the two controllers. I believe Portal and the Pro are exclusive to the um, Sony Direct and will not be coming back. I hope that they hear the fan outrage and do release another 30th Pro that maybe looks a little different than the original, so that the people who did get it still have something unique. But I doubt they'll do that. They'll probably just move on. Who knows? Maybe there's a PS2 anniversary coming up, and they'll do a PS2 homage on the PS5 Pro. The consoles don't support super ultra wide, and that's why I'm PC gaming. There you go. I'll be at Galloping Ghost this Tuesday around noon. I'm stoked. That's awesome. Play pretty much every arcade game that's ever made. You probably need like a whole week to get anywhere near seeing everything they got. 4KC says, I don't think a GPU that costs $700 more than one I have, RTX 770, would be as big of an upgrade as a PS5 Pro. At least I have my 20th. Yeah, that's a really good one to have for sure. And Retro Roofer, very cool name. Does that mean you do 8-bit roofs or you use those old wood shingles? Uh, shake roofs, weren't that isn't that what they were called? Dead by Daylight, best horror game. Uh, that is definitely a good one. Any of the ones that actually make you feel freaked out are a blast. Fun fact, Galloping Ghost doesn't have super sprint, but yes, they are over 1,000 arcade. They don't have super sprint? How do they not have that? Does Doc just hate super sprint for some reason? Because it's not like they're horribly difficult to find. Very interesting. There you go. Retro Roofer only installs asbestos shingles. I would have liked to grab the 30th portal, but I didn't research ahead of time to know where to get in line. Uh, Thorn and Liberty is a pretty cool MMO. I've even heard of that one. Uh, Shaker roofs. There you go. Yeah, one of the announcements. I know people are absolutely tired of hearing about Shredder's Revenge. They got the new DLC with the what is it? The Reptile Pack with Mondo Gecko and whoever the other one is off the top of my head, which is cool. But now they're releasing their third physical edition. So they did one after the last DLC with Isagi no Jimbo. I did pick that both of those up, first two editions up, just the standard editions on Switch. But I really, really dug this new one. And let me bring it up here, depending on talking about it. I don't have it up. All right, here, where do you go? Sorry about that. They've got like 8,000 different things here. How do we get to the alt? There we go. Someday. All right, let me share this. All right, so yes, it's the standard game. It's got both DLCs, so you get the extra 4 characters. You know what you get with this, right? You can get it for a lot less. It's $125, but I thought what this comes with is just freaking awesome. Let's see. I don't know how well you guys can see that. but hopefully you can see there. Actually, it's just really annoying. Magnify image. In case you can't. This. There you go. Now we can see it better. To me, this is super cool. So they come with 4 exclusive Playmates action figures. So you're talking the original, like, 90s molds of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So, of course, these just hit their 30th, 35th anniversary, I think, on the original Playmates figures and toy line. But these things, again, original mold, but they've cell shaded them to match Shredder's Revenge. You can see, of course, the art behind them, and you got the nice shadowing on the figures. See if I can get it a little closer on these. You can, it is literally like the exact molds. They've just recolored everything to match the game. And of course, whoever did the render here gave Raph some brain damage. It looks like they took a big chunk out of his head. But you got the exclusive packaging, which is it's not in the original brick packaging, but you've got the Shredder's Revenge Ultimate Edition packaging with the same kind of name logo. Of course, these are just renders, so they just got kind of a figure that they've kind of stuck in there to make it look like it's in there. But to me, that's super cool that they're, again, with all the other junk that normally comes in one of these collector's editions, that um, that you're getting these in that pack. And Jason says, "Aren't the Playmates size much smaller than regular action figures?" So actually, the Playmates Ninja Turtles are technically 6-inch scale figures. The reason they don't stand as tall as a typical 6-inch scale figure is because they all have them posed with their legs like spread and crouched, and there's not a lot of articulation on a standard Ninja Turtle figure on those old school ones. So they all sit more like, you know, 4.5, 5 inches with everything. Maybe they're 5-inch figures, more like it, and they sit more like 4 inches. But these I can't find anything specific, but they look to be the exact size. And you can kind of see as I go back here, right? Here's your Switch and your PS5 game. And if you can imagine, if this is the scale of the game, look how big this box is in comparison. So that is a massive collector's edition box in order to hold those card backs of those figures in there along with the other stuff. So this is probably one of the first times I think, like, in my opinion, a collector's edition actually has the value of the items inside. Typically, they're charging like 130, 140 bucks for these things. And then what's in there is about 35 cents worth worth of trinkets. They'll print something up, they'll throw a CD in there, maybe some pins and stickers. Um, but here you're getting, those figures typically at Walmart are $10 a piece. So you could argue that there's $40 in figures in there. But realistically, these are exclusive, they're very limited. So really, you're talking $20 is probably a normal MSRP of what you would see something like this at, maybe like Big Bad Toy Store, somewhere $15, $20. So if you figure you got $80 worth of figures, you got a $40 game in there, and then you got all the other stuff, $125 is not horribly outside the norm, considering everything they've put in there. Because those figures are got to be in such a limited quantity that the cost to produce them is much higher. But was interested in this follow up. So no asbestos, but he did enough of them. Lungs can't handle, only shingles now. Thor KC says, "I've been strongly thinking of getting one of the 1/4 scale NECA turtles from the 1990 movie to pose in front of my quarter arcade." Yeah, those turtle ones are awesome. The NECA ones are just They're very expensive, can be very hard to find, especially the movie ones. Um, I know you can find the shredder a little more readily, but the actual turtles themselves are hard to come by, and like you said, the best you've found is $125. They're not cheap. Gotcha, so they aren't as small as these herd. I know only get the most up-to-date game, not the whole thing because of what happened to me last year. I just want the game, no need for collectibles. Understandable. But for me as a toy figure and a game collector, that's like the best of both worlds. It's like, hey, I get an exclusive cool Turtles toy, which I collect already, and I get the game, which I've already bought twice. So who knew? Why not a third time? Collector's editions were amazing for a minute. I had the CE of GTA 4. Yeah, to me, I don't buy collector's editions anymore for anything. That is about the only one that's gotten me excited in a long time because I want the toys out of it. I'll be buying the game anyway because I want that on physical edition. But the um, most of the time, these, especially collector's editions for just games that are only digital, seem super weird to me. Yeah, I'm gonna pay all this money for a collector's edition, get whatever trinkets are in there, but you don't even get the game either. So it's so weird. You get like a digital code. I don't understand the point of that. Mitigation of that stuff is really tough. Yes, asbestos is nobody's fun. Hey, Steve, thanks for joining. As always, I was just telling everybody I'm going to be doing or I told them earlier in the stream that I'd be doing my 1,000 celebration live stream, giving stuff away, and so I appreciate what you've done. So I plan on one of the things that you've sent my way will be part of that live stream for people. So I'm going to hold back what that is, but I think it is super awesome and will be a awesome prize for people. So I'm very excited for that. But that'll be a few more weeks because it'll have to be after we come back from the Pinball Expo. Sand Spirit said, I ordered from Limited Run Games for the first time this year. I hear I should get my stuff in 2026. Yeah. Yeah. Limited Run has its problems. Now, fortunately, this is a commission. It's not a normal limited run game. So they're printing these on behalf of, um, what's the, it's not, is it Team or whatever, the company that makes, Shredder's Revenge, and so these aren't like a standard limited run game, so these will come out much faster. I think they said these ship in March, so these aren't like some of the other ones where if it's a true limited run game, um, yeah, year, 2 years. I try to pick those up. I pick up when they do NES re-releases of really rare or Super Nintendo ones, and they're actually like the playable ones on the original hardware and the real carts. I tend to pick those up because a lot of them maybe are Famicom games that aren't were never available in the U.S. In an English translation, unless you're just talking ROMs. And so I do pick those up as part of my collecting of NES and Super NES, and so a lot of fun. Normally, really expensive games have been released by Limited Run. On the flip side, they've also released ones that don't make any sense to me. Like they actually did a re-release of the Three Stooges on the NES. I think they charged $50 or $60 for that. Of course, it's came with everything the original did and in original packaging, but with the limited run logo. Here's the thing, you can pick that up CIB in mint condition off eBay for like 15 bucks. So it makes no sense why you would pay 50 for a re-release of a game that is plentiful and readily available. So sometimes they do that stuff and it makes no sense to me. I picked up a actually limited run version of Maniac Mansion. Uh, which is a fun one. Also not super difficult to find, but was always a big fan of those LucasArts adventure games, so I picked that one up. Uh, Thor says he remembers the collector's edition of Halo 3 that came with the quadcopter. Yeah, one of the my favorite collector's editions, and the game was kind of fun for a while, but that was Titanfall, and You guys never saw the collector's edition of that. It came with this giant Titan statue in it. The box was ginormous, and I can't imagine them shipping these things through the mail, which they did. That's how I got mine. The box was so big that I could crawl inside the shipping box that the special edition came in. It was massive. It's so big that when I moved, I just had to throw it away because it took up way too much room. So I kept the statue, but the box itself I just had to let go of because the thing was giant. Um, but it's got a really cool statue in it. um, 4KC says, I actually like the digital collector's edition. If they come with something I actually want, advantages of digital and still have something physical to show for it. Yeah, that is definitely true. So what was the video sent out? The AI oh, yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I did want to talk about that one. So I will probably do a follow-up video. If you guys didn't see it, I posted yesterday um, a video about the Arcade One Up claw machine with quote unquote guest hosts or featuring uh, Devin and Allie were the names. That was entirely AI. I think people figured that out almost immediately, knowing that I like to play with AI. But I thought it was really interesting. It's a new AI that can take an article, a YouTube video, a PDF, you name it, any kind of source material. You can feed it to this AI, and then it can produce a podcast out of it. So it'll produce 10 to 15-minute podcasts, which are essentially the two AIs conversing with each other about the content of the information you supplied it. So it's a way to get a summary of an article or a document. Like, say you gave it a research paper, it it can present the topics and the results of that research paper in a more entertaining and more engaging way than just saying reading an FAQ or reading through pages and pages and pages of academic research. And so I thought it was interesting because of how good it was, the banter, how they finished each other's sentences, how they had the emotions, they had the pauses, they stumble over their voices and talk over each other. It was just insanely well done to me. And so I said, "Hey, what if I just feed it this stupid IGN um, claw machine article? What is it gonna do?" And of course, when I got it and listened to it, I was like, "Ah, this is interesting. I wonder what people would think about this AI in YouTube in being used for YouTube videos." So I put one out there to gauge how people would respond to it, what they would think. I modeled the presentation. I did the video part of it. It's the audio. All the podcast thing does is produce the audio. So I did the visual overlay. I modeled it after a few other channels I know where the creators themselves, they are real people. But they don't like going on camera, so they use these kind of cartoony avatars. So I kind of modeled it after one of them just to see what people thought. But I thought it was very interesting. Um, I talked to people. I actually demoed it multiple times that same day as part of my job, and was doing it live for people there, feeding it various articles about the organization and watching it produce that content, and people were just completely blown away. And so it was surprising to me how quickly people on my channel figured out that it was totally and completely AI. But at the same time, you guys all know I love playing with AI and I use it all over the place. So same time, it's not so surprising. But I'm interested, in what you guys thought. It is funny how people thought, man, this is real shilling. This is what shilling looks like. And yeah, I mean, it was funny the way that those AI characters reacted to the idea of this claw machine and the possibilities that this claw machine might do for Arcade One Up. It was even more funny listening to them say like they're going to put first edition comic books in this thing. Like, okay, like I guess you want the claw to destroy it if it could even lift it up. But I still thought it was really entertaining myself. It was goofy, and I appreciated all the comments about it. Some people really hated it. Some people were surprised or impressed by it, but, it was fun. Yeah, yeah, obviously, technically, you don't need to use the balls to have things picked up, but it would be really funny to see somebody jam a comic book in one of those little balls, all, like, crunched up. Uh, but, let's see. Leisure Suit Larry was here, yeah, so we're talking about, those great LucasArts games. Yeah, Steve mentioned Day of the Tentacle, another good one. Loom. Loom was fantastic. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. There were so many. And of course, Sierra. Jason drops in Leisure Suit Larry. Yeah, Leisure Suit Larry series, the Police Quest series, the King's Quest series. Um, God, what were some of the other ones? Man, there's so many good ones. I miss that. Oh, yeah, Full Throttle, Sam and Max. Papa Brad dropped that in there. There were so many great LucasArts adventure games, Sierra adventure games. I miss that era of gaming. Those were some of my favorite. I love those. And if you never played the original Sierras, like the first Police Quest, the first Leisure Suit Larry, where you had to use your brain, like it was all text based, and you had to type out what you wanted the characters on the screen to do, and it was surprisingly how it would know to react to stuff, and they were very difficult in those early days where you didn't have the mouse to make all your options for you, but so fun, so good. Loved that era of gaming, and so I tend to pick them up whenever there's a Steam sale. I buy all of them. When there's a re-release in physical form, I tend to pick it up. I really just wish they'd keep making those. Um, Great Mortal Kombat. Well, it's Mortal Kombat. It's like the greatest. Anyone remember Star Wars chess? Absolutely. That was in response to Battle Chess around that time. Battle Chess was awesome. And of course, when they did the Star Wars version, it was awesome as well. Elvira 2, Jaws of Progress. So anyway, that was my spiel on the silly AI video. If you guys watch it, I appreciate you sitting through the 10 minutes of two AIs shilling over Arcade One Up's claw machine. I found it interesting. I found it insightful. It was funny when they put in that whole, because there was a piece in that article about pre-ordering it on Amazon where it picked up all the Amazon stuff and was talking about the pre-order price guarantee and all that nonsense. It was pretty interesting. But if you guys actually, um, I didn't tell you what it is. It's called Notebook ML is the tool that does it, and it's free to use. So if you guys want to play with it, it's out there. But it's pretty fun way to turn boring reading into something less boring. But it is a good one. Thor says Battle Chess was amazing. Star Wars chess was hard to find and then not as funny. A bit disappointing. And Steve says Star Wars Monopoly. Of course, I have one of the early physical Star Wars Monopolies in Star Wars Trivial Pursuit before they all started going ham and making a million of those things. Um, Prove to us you're not an AI. I can't because I am a bot. And if I wasn't, I wouldn't be able to tell you that I wasn't a bot. Does that make any sense? You're just going to have to go to the Pinball Expo to find out whether I am actually AI or not. Appreciate the comment. But we have kind of gone a little over an hour and a half. Again, I really appreciate you guys always coming and stopping by and hanging out with us every Saturday. Love doing these rankings. Next week, I am not clear yet on whether I'm going to have a stream or not. Uh, it'll only be a couple days later, headed to Chicago. I'm going to try to. I'm hoping to do another um, agree or disagree. So have a couple guests on, but realizing that it's that close to Pinball Expo, I don't know how successful I'll be in getting people. So I'll probably jump on anyway, no matter what. So I guess I'm committing right now to still doing it that week. And then the week after, we'll actually be at the Pinball Expo, and I will try to go live from there. Of course, that'll be at night, but hopefully, have uh, some people on as we're all hanging out, doing some live streams there. I plan on vlogging throughout the day and dropping lots of content while we're on the road and hanging out. So look for those. Should be a lot of fun. A lot of cool stuff at the expo. A lot of new pinball games being shown off for the first time. Of course, the retro convention. Guys like John Hancock are going to be there. He's always fun to hang out with, and he's a friend of the channel. So appreciate him very much. Star Wars Episode 1 Monopoly is the best Monopoly ever made. Card for each property fit on the space on the board, and the house hotels were stacking skyscrapers. Wars Monopoly came on both CD and small disc. Oh, I didn't know it actually had an actual video game, Star Wars Monopoly. Just remember, gunfire there is just background noise. Yes, yes, Chirac. I'll try to keep my head down. That's I know Michael B's a little wigged out about coming to the United States and all of our gun-loving friends, but remember, guns are illegal in Chicago. That's why there's never any violence there. So get off my soapbox. And again, I appreciate everybody for stopping by. As always, I'll talk to you again soon. Soon should have some fun videos coming out over the next few days. So appreciate that. And as always, until next time, have fun.